Welcome back to the Crypto's Key Conversation, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a new and updated version of my Magic keyboard and Magic mouse, so we're going to have some zoom factors going into this video, which I'm really excited about. But we're going to cover a couple different video clips covering just the shady behaviors that's been happening from Kevin O'Leary, Sam Bankman-Fried, and FTX. Some interesting video clips that I think are going to tie in well together. We're going to start with this one from Warren Davidson. I think it's quite interesting, his take on why Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the timely manner that he was. So let's take a quick listen into this.
SBF, had been asked to testify hours before he's arrested. I mean, what gives to the timing of that? And what about SEC Chair Gary Gensler? Some say he has a very cozy relationship with Alameda Research, which looks like has commingled funds with FTX.
Yeah, and not just Alameda Research, but Sam Bankman-Fried himself. And I think that's a big part of the timing, frankly. I mean, it's all speculation at this point, but the best theory I have is that the SEC and others didn't want SBF to give his own version of, so what were you doing with Gary Gensler in the Securities and Exchange Commission with all these meetings and all this interaction that you've had with regulators? And he would have been able to give his side of that. The regulators, the SEC, Gary Gensler and others wouldn't have been able to filter the questions. And they didn't know where that was going to go. So I think that's part of what drove some of the timing on the.
I mean, I 100% agree with that. I mean, obviously, there's some smart people and some highly powerful people that are, behind the Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX stuff, especially with, the connections between Chairman Gensler and other powerful members within just the crypto ecosystem in general. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of narrative behind it. And I agree. He goes, I believe Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested before the congressional hearings this week because the SEC and other regulators did not want to give Congress an opportunity to ask Sam Bankman-Fried about their failed oversight. Why do you think Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested just before the congressional hearings? And people were kind of commenting, their opinions throughout this tweet thread here. And I sent this GIFs that said, got him, because I think it's an interesting take, and I can definitely see some relevance and why that would have some significance. Digital Asset Investor says the SEC was having planning sessions with FTX while investors were being defrauded. While planning with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, the SEC was suing Ripple, who was not accused of defrauding anyone and actively harming over 70,000 XRP holders. I think it's over 75,000 XRP holders. He says, Congress, do we even have a country anymore? And that's just a valid, solid question. I mean, he's been tagging all our congressmen and women, our representation within our government. And we'll see, man. There's been a bunch of letters, a bunch of talks about what's going to happen. A new day's coming, but we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. So the rest of this video, we're going to be covering, Kevin O'Leary's involvement and why is, what's being held over his head? Why is he taking the actions he's taking? And why is he saying the things he's saying in regards of almost trying to, change the narrative and push, the blame to CZ and Binance and, kind to de-escalate what's happening with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. So obviously, he had a $15 million, deal or contract with them, but it's like, why is he risking further tarnishing his reputation for Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX? So we covered this video clip here in our previous video, but it is going to tie in and lead into the conversation that we're going to have with the other one. So John Deaton says here, the fact that the Senate called Kevin O'Leary as a witness is a joke. The man supports Sam Bankman-Fried and said he would invest more money with Sam Bankman-Fried, which is a slap in the face to every one of the innocent people Sam Bankman-Fried had harmed along with Kevin, and he blames CZ Binance. So let's take a quick listen into this 40-second clip here.
Why do you believe FTX failed?
I have an opinion. I don't have the records. Here it is. These two behemoths that own the unregulated market together and grew these incredible businesses in terms of growth were at war with each other. And one put the other out of business intentionally. Now, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now. They put FTX out of business.
Why do you...
So this is kind of how this train wreck, this isn't one of the initial ones. Obviously, there's been conversations with other interviews and other tweet threads and stuff, but this was kind of what's starting the conversation here and why things are kind of been igniting. So Squawk Box kind of went in some more as into what he speculates is going on in regards of, the frauding, the connection, and how everything's kind of laid out. CZ's reaction and response to, CZ calling Kevin O'Leary a liar. CZ calling Kevin O'Leary a liar, and so on. As you're going to see as we go through these clips, it becomes evident that Kevin O'Leary may be further more involved than we think, especially based off of this campaign, or this, in a sense, we talk about in the community, him being activated in a sense. So this is from Stuart Alderati. This is Ripple's general counsel. And he says, Kevin O'Leary and all other venture investors in FTX should immediately demand that the SEC stop spending taxpayer money on its tag-along case against Sam Bankman-Fried, since the case only seeks to recover on their behalf. So let's take a quick listen into the Squawk Box interview with Kevin O'Leary.
One question about the creditors, just your opinion on it, since you're trying to get on the creditors committee. If they do recover money, that money that goes back, what should the order of the creditors be? Who should get paid back first? The people who actually lost their money that they were asking them to hold, or contractors and spokespeople? Like, where should that fall in your opinion?
My opinion about this is, when you become an advocate for getting it back on a credit committee, you take care of the small people first, the people that lost their money. I don't mean small people. I mean people that diminishment amounts inside their accounts. They're hurt the most. And so it's not that the shareholders, of which I'm included, I'm in both of these groups, I don't think we should get anything back. We're venture investors. We're big boys. We lost our money. We understand it. I don't want anything back there until the people that had money in the accounts get theirs back. That just seems fair. And I really, because we know as venture investors, we're going to get it wrong 80% of the time. And here's another one. But there's something wrong with sweeping somebody's account of their assets. Where is that money? That's the question I have, and everybody on the committee is going to want the same answer. And so does John Ray. This is a classic case, and he said it himself this week in front of the Senate too. This is just follow the money.
Just one question.
For some reason, I just don't believe that. Okay, like him even saying the statement of like, us venture investors know that, the risks we're willing to take, but, where's the money for, these small investors in their accounts? It's like, I don't think someone at his pinnacle really cares about the small investor. And, maybe he does, but this is just me speculating, in my opinion, especially based off of, what we see with, people of his stature. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they got the IGM mentality that I got mine, and that's kind of what it is. And, now that, there's been a lot of scrutiny and a lot of eyes that's been pinned on him, and a lot of stuff that he's been getting, from the community in regards of his responses and his interview answers to certain questions, and him on video footage, just like, it's almost like he's trying to change his tune and kind of paint this different narrative. And it goes hand in hand with what we've been saying. Like, these people are being activated. You have the Jim Cramers that are, set out to spread FUD and draw more fear. And like, obviously Kevin O'Leary, it just doesn't make sense why he's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this whole narrative of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. Like, it's not as, I just don't see it as bad as it is. It's like, no, fraud is fraud, bro. I mean, it's black and white. There's no gray in there. Continuing on, there's another one right here in his response of the CZ accusations against him. He goes, there's a quote here, says, quote, "You said crypto was worthless and rat poison, and 6 months later you were a Bitcoin bull." So keep this in mind, Kay. This ties into, Kevin O'Leary's involvement with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX in this $15 million contract he has, and him doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this narrative that he's been pushing. But this is things that we've been talking about on this channel. It's like, don't do as they say, do as they do. So they tell you one thing. When I say they, I mean, these venture capitalists, these powers that be, the JP Morgans of the world, they tell you one thing: Bitcoin and crypto is a scam. But behind the scenes, they're continuing to accumulate so they can get a bigger chunk of the pie, knowing that they see, the writing on the wall, and they see where this future is going. They don't want you to hold and have a good portion of this. They want to have all that power to themselves. And that's kind of what I got from, past interviews. And I'm going to show some of it on this channel here. But this reporter is challenging, these reporters are challenging Kevin O'Leary in his stance here. And take a quick listen in and, set your own opinion based on what you hear here.
Time goes so quick. It seems like only yesterday, I was totally arguing with you on Squawk Box. You went from Charlie Munger's view on Bitcoin to Michael Saylor's view on Bitcoin. And I actually kidded you about it. I said, Who are you? You may know nothing, but you're never in doubt. You're so strident when you said it was just worthless and rat poison. And then 6 months later, you're like this Bitcoin bull. So I didn't understand that conversion. Did that conversion coincide with the 15 million that you got from FTX?
No, I was investing 3.5 years earlier than that. I changed my mind back in early 2018 when I saw the regulators in jurisdictions like Canada, Switzerland, and Abu Dhabi start to change their minds. But I'll tell you what really got me investing, Joe. You know, I mentioned these guest lecturing things I do. They're usually to graduating cohorts of engineers. And so these are classes at 6 to 9 at night. And these are the best and brightest at MIT or in business school at Harvard. I started to notice back in 2018, I'd say, okay, wait, where are you guys going? Where are you going? Because about a third of the class will create entrepreneurial efforts and they'll start businesses. They're all going to the blockchain. You can't spend that much intellectual.
I understand. I believed
Kevin,
it back then. I'm just trying to figure out why.
I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. You just said you made this conversion in what year?
I think it was 2018 I started investing, yeah.
Okay, well, I just for, as a point of fact, for what it's worth, May 14th, 2019, you came on television and called Bitcoin garbage. Just
Then I'm wrong. It's the year later.
And keeps it in
I'm
terms
sorry,
of
guys.
And keeping the time, but also, Kevin. So prior to that, you hadn't looked at it at all. I wonder about Munger. I wonder about a lot of them. Most of the people that call them Beanie Babies have never looked into actually how it works. Had you not looked into it, and yet you had those very strong opinions about Bitcoin?
I remember. I think it was 2017, coming on Squawk Box talking about the tokenization of a hotel in New York. And the regulator let me know right after that they were not okay with that. And that was the beginning of realizing, wow, things are tough out here with this crypto stuff. Right. But maybe you're right, Andrew. Maybe I started 2019. But the point is, was long before I became a paid spokesperson, years before. So it didn't change my mind to be paid or, go through that whole process. I'm an advocate of this because I think the productivity available in crypto and particularly payment systems looks extraordinary. And I understand the incumbents and the banking system is really trying to shut this down. But the fact is, it's a threatening technology, and disruption's always abhorred by the system.
So he may not have been swayed, as he says, per the timeline. He may not have been swayed, when he first became a paid spokesman as of recent. But it's like even just him speculating on things that he hasn't even looked into. That's problematic, especially with the type of platform he has and the voice that he has and the following that he has. What is that going to do? There's probably millions of people that follow this guy. And if he says, Bitcoin is crap and crypto is a Ponzi scheme, there's millions of people that are going to be deterred away from it. Right. And, people can obviously cast their own opinions or whatever. But when you have the sort of influence he has, you would think that you're held to a certain standard and you have a certain responsibility. Just like they teach athletes in school. It's like you're not just like a normal student. You're held to a different standard. So you have to carry yourself that way. And he's an individual of high influence. So even when in 2019, right, he said he was learning about it in 2018, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if he was accumulating, hodling, building partnerships and networking before then, while still speaking the way he speaks, regardless of anything. Something had happened in his life, whether it's he had, some under the rug or behind the closed door, contract or deal to where he was like, well, I can make this much money. I'm in it. Now I'm going to speak positively about it. I think that almost makes it worse. So you're only going to speak positively about it because you're making money. I'm not even speaking on the 15 million. And this is just me speculating based on other, people like him of his stature and his status and his wealth. We finally hear, and things are starting to surface and come out that, hey, they've been spreading FUD and had this FUD campaign and telling you something completely false, knowing that they're continuing to accumulate in the background. And that's just sad and that's wrong. Because you could deter. I'm sure you've deterred thousands and thousands of potential investors away based on just your words alone. This is from Unusual Wells, and this is the video clip of CZ calling out Kevin O'Leary. Let me go ahead and make sure that I'm clicked into the right one here. Right here. This is a clip of CZ calling out Kevin O'Leary and him being a liar. So let's take a quick listen into this.
He says he didn't know that Binance was a shareholder of FTX. So he invested in FTX without looking at the cap table. But he was very specific in the way he counts for a transaction 2 years ago. So that's kind of contradictory. So I think Calvin's a liar. So I think he's lying about a bunch of stuff. So that's his problem. To us, we want to be transparent. We want to set the golden standard for reliability, solidness in this space.
So do it.
And we're
I think Calvin's a liar. He called him Calvin. So this sparked a lot of stuff, and we're going to cover that video clip. But I want to tie more into what CZ was saying within this particular interview, because he was kind of hit hard in regards of, the whole, there's been something that came out on Twitter that the auditor that was auditing Binance and I think it was crypto.com, like had deleted some files or something, deleted some audits and kind of backed out, because there's been speculations that maybe they don't want to be a part of this thing when it collapses. So here's kind of his response in regards to these hard, tough questions that these interviewers were asking him. And I'm curious to know, like, what you think in regards of, your faith and your trust based on his response and his confidence in whether, CZ and Binance can stand if they were truly audited legitly, and if things come out in regards of FTX and the FTT token, they were charged or demanded to provide money, where will they have the available money to show, first of all, they're right and just in regards of they're holding assets of their customers, but do they have the money to give back as well? So let's take a quick listen into this.
We want to be transparent. We want to set the golden standard for reliability, solidness in this space.
So do it. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion back? Would that be okay? Would you be able to still withstand things?
We're financially okay.
Including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw that back, you'd still be fine?
We'll let the lawyers handle it. We are financially strong. Even after the FTT price dropped over the last year, we still had $500 million worth of it, $580 million worth of it on the day when we transferred from the address we received a year and a half ago. We never touched it. We actually kind of forgot about it.
But thus far, you haven't disclosed your liabilities. And I wonder why that is and whether you will.
Yeah, so we are working with firms to do the audited financials, liabilities, et cetera. But the audits don't reveal every problem. So,
no, but an audit from a Big Four auditor would reveal that, CZ. If you could get a Big Four auditor to say that, if you're saying that some of them don't want to work with you, that raises questions too. They don't want to work with you because you don't have the files and the data that would make them feel comfortable signing off and giving that stamp of approval?
Actually, many of them don't even know how to audit crypto exchanges. They don't really, when they audit, they're very used to auditing a firm.
Does Coinbase, Coinbase has a Big Four. Coinbase has a Big Four auditor?
Actually, I don't look at Coinbase. We don't really look at
I think so, though.
So that's CZ responding to these tough questions. I mean, they were throwing them at him, and quite honestly, I didn't feel too confident in his responses. And I mean, who knows? I don't know if Binance is going to be, have an FTX, if they're going to crash, fall. I don't know about any of that. I definitely don't want that. I don't think it would be good for the market, especially, in short term. But I guess we can all it's just a waiting game to kind of see what happens. I mean, things are getting intense out here. And before I show this last clip here, I want to see where we're at. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Still sitting at 836 billion. Bitcoin sitting at 16,688. I mean, we're XRP sitting at 35 cents. I mean, we're having some down today. I mean, 10, 12%, 5%. I mean, there's a lot of shaky stuff, and I can understand why a lot of people are kind of like, oh, what's going to happen? But man, this is from a digital asset investor says, Kim.com was right. The machine is in motion against CZ Binance for FTX. So let's take a quick listen into this last video here.
But Kevin, you are a principal in this drama. You are an actor in this drama, and you had a front row seat to Sam Bankman-Fried literally up until the very end. Given what you know about him personally, and given what you now know about the numbers and what has happened there, as you said, you're trying to get money back for creditors. What do you think happened? Do you believe this was a fraud?
I don't have the facts. John Ray doesn't have them yet. He's going to get them. I'm looking for my records. I'm willing to fund a forensic audit of our accounts. I'd like to know what happened, obviously. There's a lot of bad things that have been alleged here, no question about it. And some of them are going to be true, likely, because there's no money there. Somewhere the cash is gone.
Right.
And so this is the beginning of a journey. You're right. I did speak with him prior to him going to jail because I'm just after the facts of where the cash was. Now, let me address something before we go any further. Yesterday on the air, CZ called me a liar. That suggests that I perjured myself in front of the U.S. Senate for 2 hours this week. I can assure you that is not the case. Another little parable here you should understand. When I was young, my birth father, who's Irish, put me on his knee, and every Irishman will know this, and he said, son, never call an Irishman a liar unless you know with certainty that's true. And I said, why is that, Dad? He said, because the Irish are crazy. Now, I don't know what it meant back then, but I got to tell you, I'm not happy about that. So at the end of the day, I have no ill will to this guy, but he's part of the story too. And you found out yesterday, you did a little work with Squawk Box. We talked about it either being 2 billion or 3 billion, that transaction. That's the largest transaction, I think, of anything in there regarding the balance sheet in recent 24-month period. And he confirmed it was 2.1 billion. And then he confirmed that he still had 550 million, $500 million of FTT tokens. Now, at some point, we're going to look at that week of November 6th, and you ask anybody, why was Sam Bankman-Fried or the whole company FTX forced into bankruptcy? It was jamming down that last $500 million that gave them no option. Now, is that the fatal stroke or blow to get rid of your global competitor? I say yes. I'll tell you something else. Right after that interview, I got a phone call, or actually it was a text, from a lobbyist in Washington saying, don't go anywhere, you're coming back. So I bet CZ bought himself an invitation to Washington yesterday. Can't wait to meet him there. We can go sightseeing.
Well, man, I don't know about y'all, but that sounded like a threat there. But I mean, I don't blame him for standing his ground. But it should be quite interesting to see what happens, man. Things are getting crazy. This rabbit hole keeps going deeper. More information is going to surface. Obviously, Binance has been under investigation. I want to say for a couple of years now. Who knows? Things are going to come out it's just going to be a matter of when it happens. As you know, I think as we go day by day, things are going to start coming out. Just how we're getting more information now. So we'll see. We'll see how these investigations take place. Hopefully the markets, don't get decimated from some shady, more shady actors and just negativity. Man, all I can say is, like I always tell you guys, do your best to protect yourself. Get your assets off of exchanges, self-custody, Ledger hard wallet, cold storage, you can put it on a mobile wallet, MetaMask, whatever. Protect yourself. Don't leave it on exchanges, all right? Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel. Subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key 1. And like I always say, really take this to heart. Stay strong out there and be safe, you guys.